You're listening to The Worship Show, episode number 1. Hi there, welcome to The Worship Show. My name is Rob Still. I'm a worship leader, missionary, songwriter, and producer. This is the program dedicated to encouraging wholehearted worship with practical teaching and advice for worship ministries, leaders, or anyone interested in worship.
3, 2, 1. Hey, I'm here with Cartee, worship leader at Fellowship Bible Church, and just an awesome man of God. I've had the privilege of sitting under his worship leadership. He is an anointed guy who is sensitive to the presence of the Lord and really is skillful in leading people. And he also has a great conference called the Inspire Conference, which we're going to talk about at the end of this conversation. So, Carl, dude, it's awesome to have you here today. How you doing?
I'm great, man. It's good to be with you. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
So, Carl, tell me a little bit about what's on your heart. What is your burn, man, for worship these days?
Well, I have been a worship leader for going on, I don't know, 25 years now, just about. Since I was a little kid, I've been involved in worship as, music worship, some aspect of it, since I was about, little kid in church. And the recurring themes that I've really kind of nailed down in my life, it's a grid that I run my decision making through. It's a grid that I run my thinking through. If I'm doing something that I feel like God's called me to do, it fits in this kind of paradigm, and it's leading people in worship, writing songs, and mentoring people to lead worship and write songs. It's kind of a little tripod in my life. I've always said that, and when people ask me, what I'm about, what I do, I feel like those are three things that are kind of like a little bar stool for me, or a little tripod that one feeds the other one, and they kind of are helpful. But at the hub of it is me being faithful to answer a call to steward the gifts that God's put in my life, and I feel like writing, leading, and then being a coach and a pastor and a mentor to those who are behind me or need my help that I could spur on to love and good deeds. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's kind of it's the basis behind the conference. It's the base behind the songs that I write, and the base behind records that I make, and things that I try to do on a day-to-day basis that I want to be known. I want to be known for those things, and so that's kind of what I'm about, and just doing those things. And it really helps, having a little bit of a mnemonic device like that helps to keep me grounded. And I can always sort of say, well, I want to do this. I got all these opportunities, but then, before I say yes or no to this or that, I can always say, well, does it serve really the centerpiece of what God's called me to do, leading, writing, and coaching? And if the answer is yes, then I can do it. But if it's not, I need to step back and say, well, then wait, or not now.
Man, that's a great framework. Can I borrow that?
Absolutely. It's all yours.
Any worship leader could borrow that, right? Yeah. So let me ask you, in each of these three areas, why don't we just give us a soundbite or a practical takeaway, in each one of those areas, for example, leading others.
Yeah. Well, I always say that my ministry and anything that I'm doing really stands on the shoulders of some key relationships that I had in my life when I was very young, and then when I was in college, and even moving forward into today. There are men who have really dignified me by inviting me into their company, even though I didn't necessarily belong there at the time. They saw something in me that could be and that might be one day, and so they had faith and initiative on their own to say, I see something in you. It's not fully developed, but I want to invite you into my company and dignify you, and then allow you to flourish, in a safe place, in a place where there's honesty, in a place where you can, fail, but I'll be here to pick you up. And, there are several people like that in my life. I look back, I was mentioning the first guy that, was the worship leader at our church when I was a little kid. I was 12 years old, and he was, the worship leader, needed a keyboard player. I could play keys and sing, and so he just dignified me by saying, I want you to come into this experience, and I'll coach you, and I'll be there for you, and I'll be a resource for you, and let let me get close enough to him so I could see, the kind of the nitty gritty of what his job was. But, that was a long time ago. That man's name was Walter Smith. I love Walter Smith to this very day. But he kind of opened his world to me and said, come in. I want to shepherd you and help you. And I see something in you that might one day grow into something good. And I want to cultivate it. And, it may be that like he changed the course of my life by just saying a small thing like that and seeing something small in me that he thought was valuable. And so, anything that I'm doing, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to sort of, have the island mentality or the, in it for me mentality, because, we are all, we all have very, very definite beginnings and endings, and everything with us, our lives, the way the Lord has even ordered creation, it's cyclical. It has a beginning and an ending, and He is the only constant. He's the only one unending, unchanging, faithful forever figure in this whole scheme. And I think what it's set up that way so that we're always pointing to Him. And so if we see ourselves as just a means to point to Him, and so we're pointing to Him, we're pointing others to Him. It really does take the pressure off of like trying to become famous, trying to be super successful, trying to like achieve to this certain level. You want to just be a good steward of the time that you're given. And I think by doing that, we echo into the next generation, our lives for Christ when we mentor and when we coach and when we encourage people. And it's a very, very valuable thing.
So I got a question for you. Like in a practical way, this thing of pointing others to the Lord. When you're in front leading worship, are there a couple like key principles you are always implementing, or strategies or tips, something like that really help connect people and point them to the Lord when you're leading on the stage?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's one thing that I've found when leading, especially if you're leading in a congregation that you're on staff, and these people see you week in and week out. The real work of leading and getting people focused on Jesus, I think, has a lot to do with living the kind of life and being the kind of leader that people can trust, and they identify with they identify with the person who's not only on stage but the person who is off stage. And being that kind of leader is very important, I believe, because when we live an authentic, genuine life, we're asking people for something. The transaction is a lot easier if you're known as someone who's giving, who's living open-handedly, who is maybe even giving their time, giving their resources. So you say, "Come on, sing with me today. Come on, you guys get with me." It's a transaction that happens a lot more smoothly if these people have been able to watch you over whatever your tenure at your place your leading may be. If they're able to look at you and say, "Hey, yeah, I know that this guy's asking me for something, but he's given me so much."
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when I'm leading people in my church. And, just being really worship leaders are we're not just guys that are getting up there leading songs. We're called of God, anointed as priests and leaders in the kingdom, and anointed to speak the truth of the gospel out over people's lives. And it's not just about song leading. And, just as it's not about, making sure the children's ministry, all those wheels are greased, or, making sure the youth don't break stuff at church. It's so much more than just like performing, being a functionary. It's about loving people and reaching into people's lives and having a transaction of blessing. I think about this a lot in a real practical place. I find myself sometimes I'm in front of a congregation that doesn't know me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may be filling in, doing a concert. So it's an audience. They may be familiar with one or two songs, but for all practical purposes, I'm showing up as a stranger on a relational level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I do this a lot. I think about this a lot. I think about speaking a language of blessing to the people that I'm leading. I'll make suggestions to them. I'll say something like, don't you believe that God is good? Hasn't God been good to you? I'll say something like that and get them to think about blessings, and I'll bless them very simply, by saying something like, I think God is going to do an extraordinary thing in your life tonight. You say that to somebody, and it changes the framework of their mindset. They may have had a terrible day, but even, if I say to you, Rob, I think God has his hand on your life, and he is moving you from where you are into an extraordinary experience in him. That's amazing. Yeah, who doesn't want to hear that?
It is, and you're connecting truth, right? You're connecting the truth
Absolutely.
of how God sees them, even if they don't have that relational history with you. That's That's a great tip, Carl. Yeah.
Well, you see people in really in one of two ways. And a lot of times we are disabled by our insecurities when we get up on stage. My instinct. My natural instinct is to get up on stage and think, man, I hope these people like me. I wonder what they're thinking about me. And everything starts turning in. Everything.
Right. Yeah.
You think those thoughts, and you get a little bit. My instinct, when I start doing that, is if I don't think people are connecting, I could even become insulting. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's wrong with you guys?
Right.
Sing louder.
I was like, you're not worshiping good enough.
Yeah, get with it, But really, that's my instinct. But what I'm trying to cultivate in my life is a language of blessing people and learning how to bless people.
Sweet.
We bless the Lord and we bless each other.
Yeah.
There's a space between people, and when we fill it with a picturing a future for somebody. Here's a resource for you. The book it's called The Blessing by John Trent and Gary Smalley.
Oh yeah, That's an older book. I'm familiar with it.
It's an old school book. They keep reprinting it because it keeps changing people the way they think, and it's a biblical examination of how to bless somebody. And one of the things that you do when you're blessing somebody from a biblical perspective is you picture a special future for them. And I love to do that. I do that for my sons all the time. I love doing it for congregation, for churches. You go somewhere and you say, I see something here that God could raise up into greatness. It's a good way to think.
Fantastic. Well, out of your three pillars there, you said the other one was writing. You want to talk about that? Because I got your record, and dude, I love it. It is so fresh.
Oh,
and it's full of joy, and it's deep too. I mean, it's a really great record, and you're gonna have to tell the people, what the name of it is and everything. And this, if you want to talk just for a second about, some of the creative process and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Sure. Well, the new record is called Just to Know You, available on iTunes, and we start. I've been writing songs since I was pretty small. I'll tell you a funny anecdote. The first song that I ever wrote was called "They Would Not Listen," which was strangely prophetic about my my other songs to follow. I always thought that was funny, though. It really was. It was a song about the people would not listen to Jesus. Who he was. Anyway, writing songs is kind of a part of. To me, it's something that I used to do when the mood hit me, and then I got into professional songwriting and had some opportunities to realize that, creativity is a gift that's to be stewarded and to be cultivated and tended, not so much, just waiting on, something to show up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You've heard it say, you train creativity. It's like a muscle that you work, and so. I did that for so long and tried really hard to, get these songs going and write songs. And, I wrote, 80 or 100 songs a year for the last 7 or 8 years. And
80 to 100 a year?
Yeah, man. No,
wow.
A lot of that's co-writing. So,
okay. All right.
But so 80 to 100 songs a year. And, maybe 20 of those will survive.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah.
Usefulness. But hey, the Lord uses it all. It's all a process. But the songs on the new album really came through a lot of, it's funny. Some of them came during times of trouble and anxiety and fear in my life, and I wrote them out of that. others of them came before I went through these places, and they were almost like, kind of a road sign.
Did they kind of come back and minister to you?
Absolutely.
It's like you were speaking prophetically to yourself.
I thought
you needed
I was
to hear yourself say that before it happened.
Yeah, I thought I was writing to one end.
Yeah.
Some objective that I kind of had imagined.
Yeah.
But then when it came back full circle, right about the time the record was coming out, right about the time all these things were kind of popping into place, I realized, wow, these songs are for me. And I think probably more than ever before, there are a lot of songs on the record that are super personal, and I didn't write to please necessarily like the idea of like we need a song for this slot. We need an up tempo song for this. I didn't write with those ideas in mind. It's easy to slip into that, especially if you're doing commercial songwriting. Like, hey, artist B or X needs this thing. Write that. I really try.
This is the Nashville way.
Yeah. I try to get away from that and just really write what my heart was saying.
Yeah.
I was sad. I was not afraid to write a sad or mournful song. There's a song called "Come Heal My Heart." That's about having a broken heart and just seeing that God did not God did not work in the way that I thought He would, but inviting Him in to my pain, my frustration, those kinds of things. I think they resonate with people, and
absolutely.
I think for songwriting, just a thought about songwriting for those who are ambitious for it. Be a good steward of it. Write faithfully. Don't wait on your moment of inspiration. Just write faithfully. Be a faithful steward of it, and then write your heart. Write what's on your heart.
That's so good.
Another good resource. I participated in something. There's a Facebook group called 7 in 7. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's out of Austin Stone Church in Austin, and I'm not sure the guy's name, but the worship leader there, he does a thing called 7 in 7. I think he does it a couple times a year, where the Facebook group, everybody participates. They write and record 7 songs in 7 days.
Okay.
No matter what, you've just got to bare your soul. If it's bad, the objective is to train yourself to write. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To write on purpose, and it could be about anything. It doesn't have to be a masterful recording or anything like that. But the songs are there, and you've got 7 songs at the end of 7 days. Mm-hmm. It's a cool exercise. So maybe some of your
did you do that? Did you have any keepers out of it?
I did. It's one of those kind of things where, like, day 4, you're just beating your head against the wall trying to come up with something. So I ended up writing just like literally whatever came out, and I don't know if any of them were keepers, but some of them were interesting. You know what I mean? And I end up loving the process. It's on if you follow SoundCloud, the songs are still up on my SoundCloud account. It's just Cartee is my SoundCloud account.
I'll go check it out.
No, I make no promises about the quality of the songs, but they're there.
Well, the scripture says, "Sing to the Lord a new song." His mercies are new every morning. Yep. But just going back to what your encouragement was on your songwriting and your process, I love that. Your model there is very much the Davidic psalmic model. I mean, he wrote what was on his heart and let the chips fall where they may. And so kudos to you, and thanks for the encouragement. So you want to talk about the next thing, this idea of coaching and mentoring, and however you want to, tie in the conference, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Well, the conference is something that Heather and I, my wife, this will be our 6th year.
And we're talking about inspireconference.com.
InspireWorshipConference.com.
InspireWorshipConference.com, and I'll have a link in my show notes.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, so InspireWorshipConference.com. Heather and I started 6 years ago, and she and I have always been compelled to be involved in helping people, in coaching people, in leading people, not just from afar, but really trying to, as much as we can, invite people into our lives to take on, in a sense, projects and say, hey, we see something in you, and it could be great. And another component of blessing somebody is to see something in them, picture a special future for them, but then to say to them, on my part, I will do anything and everything I can to bring it about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
so you're investing in their destiny.
Yeah. We feel like we need to make an investment in people's destiny. That's a very, very good phrase. I love that you said that. I'm going to take that from you.
Well, I got that from Stephen Mansfield. But anyway, it's all good. It's all kingdom stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So who is the conference for?
The conference is for anybody, particularly my heart is for guys who are church worship leaders, who are slugging it out in their church. Here's one of the big ideas about it. They need fresh wind, fresh wind in their sails, fresh water to drink, and just somebody out there to say, hey, man, if you need something, we have resources, but we have classes and things like that. But what we really have is somebody who's willing to bless you, to say a prayer over you, to encourage you, and to give you something that will help sustain you in the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your supply lines run thin sometimes when you feel like you're kind of out there on the on the front lines, and it's you're slugging it out. You feel alone.
Yeah.
We want to be a resource, a conference, not just an event, but really a ministry that comes around worship leaders, kind of takes them into their arms and says, hey, you're not alone. You're not fighting for nothing. What you're doing is valuable, and you're sowing good seed into a kingdom work, and just really help men and women out who are in those positions, because it's sometimes it's lonely. It's definitely not easy, and you can become discouraged, and I don't want to see that.
So one of the outcomes is people leave encouraged. I mean, I've been there a couple of years, and I see a lot of the same people who keep coming back.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. We have an incredible retention rate.
Yeah.
Our conference, one of the things I'm most proud of about Inspire Worship Conference is that once people experience it the first time, they rarely leave, or it's a big deal if they miss. So many people will call me up and say, "Man, I'm just devastated, but I can't come this year, and I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Hey, it's okay. You can come back next year."
And
but
people are coming from where are they coming from? Like, what's the farthest? What kind of a region comes to this?
We have people from all over. We've had people from Alaska. We've had people from South Africa, Switzerland. I mean, we've had kind of the international set. It's a lot of it is around the mid-south, the southeast. But I think we've had people from every state.
Oh wow! Okay.
Come to Inspire. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just for worship leaders, right? I mean,
looking for Guam. If anybody's from Guam,
Guam.
I'd love to
All right,
Guam.
if you're from Guam, come on. I think I have like 150 countries that I know visit my blog and everything. So I'm like, okay, you guys in India and Sri Lanka, come on. All right. So anyway, okay, but I know it's for more than just worship leaders, right? You've got equipping and training for musicians, for singers, for pastors. What about for technical people?
Yeah, we do. We try to make it a comprehensive thing that you could bring your whole team to. So you may be the worship pastor, and you've got several people that are on your team that are key players that really could benefit from something like that too. So we've got all of that's available. This year we've got a guy that talks about mixing live sound. We've got another guy that talks about what do you need gear wise, for the church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of churches end up needing to upgrade their gear, but where do you start? Different things like that. We've got some experts from some of the best audio companies in the world that are going to be talking about what you need to know and what you need to get, to make your sound and things like that the best it can be. One of my favorite classes that we have is a guy named Joe Blair leads a class called Bring Your Best, and it's a roundtable discussion where people bring the best ideas production wise that they've had throughout the year.
Oh, right, yeah.
Things that worked for them, things that were really effective, things that people commented about, and they trade ideas, and they tell you how they did them, and they tell you what worked and why it worked, and so the people that are in the discussion can really glean a lot of information that they can really hands-on, practical type stuff they can then take back to their congregations and put it into practice. And it's really, it's really good.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I was in one of those with Joe, and it was very eye-opening. It was so creative, so it sparked a lot of creativity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, so what about your speakers? Who are your main speakers, the main teachers that are going to be there this year?
Yeah. Well, this year we have. I'm really excited to host Pastor Scotty Smith. He's
awesome.
the founding pastor of Christ Church Christ Pres down in Franklin. An incredible guy who has spent years pastoring artists.
Yeah.
And has a great heart for the gospel and also for how the gospel and the arts intersect.
Yeah.
And Scotty's going to be coming and preaching for us on the second day. Mm-hmm. And then we have Michael Neal, integrity worship artist and songwriter, great speaker, great author, writer of the song "Your Great Name." That's been a really big song in churches, won a Dove Award. Michael's going to come and talk, and he does a great talk about helping to engage the people that you're leading. Sometimes we end up sort of staring at blank faces sometimes, and you get back to that place of like, well, what's wrong? Why aren't you engaging? Well, there are things that we can do as leaders to help engage people, and Michael talks about that.
And man, that's a skill. That's a skill we need to keep sharpening every single time we lead. Every time we lead, it's a different situation.
Absolutely, that's very true. Yeah. And we have to sharpen that skill routinely.
Yeah.
It doesn't sharpen itself for sure. And then one of the things I'm super excited about this year is we're having a guitar player named Doyle Dykes. Doyle is he's been around the world playing his guitar. He's has a signature guitar for Taylor. He's revered as one of the finest fingerstyle players in the world. Even when Chet Atkins passed away, he said, he's not worried about guitar playing as long as it's left in the hands of men like Doyle.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah.
However, Doyle is a former pastor, loves the Lord, and really talks about a time in his life when he was pastoring a church where he felt the Lord call him to say, I want you to now go and work among my gifted ones and play your guitar, but preach the gospel to them. Cool. So Doyle's coming, and he'll blow your mind with his guitar playing abilities, but also really brings a powerful word of testimony as well. So wow. I'm excited about several of those guys like that.
I'm excited about those guys, and I've been in previous years, and the keynote experiences have been primo. Man, they have been so rich and deep and really inspiring.
Yeah,
so,
thanks, man.
Okay, and the dates are
May 2nd and 3rd, 2013. May 2nd and 3rd, 2013. It's on the campus of Fellowship Bible Church in Nashville, Tennessee, and you can see it again on inspireworshipconference.com, all the schedules, all the info about the different classes and things like that.
And there's like discounts and stuff for groups. Is that correct?
I'll tell you, what we're doing this year is a tremendous opportunity for church groups. Our discount this year it's $500 per church. And you can bring as many people from your church for that rate as you want.
Wait a minute, I could bring my choir of 100 people?
Absolutely, $500. You get them there.
That's $5 a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so, all right.
We've had tremendous response to that. So we've got more people signed up, almost by double. At this point, a month away than we've ever even had come to the conference. So it's really it's going to be a crazy year. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and it's really going to be powerful.
I'm excited. Okay, Carl, well, I know we're getting to the end of our time here and such. Anything else you want to leave with the people that will be watching this?
Yes, I've got something for you. It's a blessing. I feel like we've been talking a lot about blessing.
This is great.
But this is a blessing for leaders, and it's something that was written by an Irish priest named John O'Donoghue. So I'll read this to your viewers, and also for you, Rob, as you lead in your church. A blessing. May you have the grace and wisdom to act kindly, learning to distinguish between what is personal and what is not. May you be hospitable to criticism. May you never put yourself at the center of things. May you act not from arrogance, but out of service. May you work on yourself, building up and refining the ways of your mind. May you learn to cultivate the art of presence in order to engage those who you meet. When someone fails or disappoints you, may the graciousness with which you engage be their stairway to renewal and refinement. May you treasure the gifts of the mind through reading and creative thinking, so that you continue to be a servant of the frontier, where the new will draw its enrichment from the old, and you never become a functionary. May you know the wisdom of deep listening, the healing of wholesome words, the encouragement of the appreciative gaze, the decorum of held dignity, the springtime of the bleak question. May you have a mind that loves frontiers, so that you can evoke the bright fields that lie beyond the view of the regular eye. May you have good friends to mirror your blind spots, and may leadership for you be a true adventure of growth. Be blessed.
Amen. That's
Isn't that beautiful?
That is fantastic. Where can I find that?
I'll email it to you.
Okay. All right. Carl Cartee, thank you so much. The Lord be with you, brother.
Lord be with you, Rob. I'll see you next month.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to The Worship Show. My name is Rob Still. Stop by my website, robstill.com, for free music downloads, instructional resources, and my new devotional, From Easter to Pentecost, going on right now. Sign up on the email list and stay in touch. The Lord be with you.